Hey everyone, welcome back. And in this video, let's talk about proxy design pattern. Now, proxy design pattern is also a part of structural design pattern. Okay. Now, if you are a college going student, you very well know what is a proxy. So, proxy is basically a substitute for a thing, correct? Like if there is a thing, I can say this is something, right? And if something can substitute it or maybe behave on behalf of it, can I say that this thing is a proxy, correct? So like I know, like if I talk about a college going example, correct? So what happens is basically sometimes you speak the attendance on behalf of your friend, so that is known as proxy. So similarly in programming also we have something known as proxy, and this is really commonly used. So let me show you how what is proxy pattern and where it is used. Okay, so let's take an example. Let's say that this is our database. Okay, so this is our database which contains a highly sensitive data. Okay, because all the databases have highly sensitive data which you want to prevent from hacking or maybe from the reach of the hackers. Now, in our previous example where we talked about the singleton pattern, what we did, we made a database service, right? And this database service was interacting with this database, which is correct. And user was directly using this database service, right, to use the database. Okay, but do you know what? There is some problem in this architecture. Like what you are doing is basically you are giving the user direct access to the database. Okay, so what user can do is this user can be a hacker, and he can inject some things, or maybe he can try to hack this database, and thus your data can be compromised. Now to secure these kind of things, we have proxy pattern. So in proxy pattern, what we do is basically you have your real database, which is absolutely fine, okay, running on a cloud. Okay, what you do is instead of giving the direct access to this database, you make a proxy. Okay, a proxy, which basically what it does, this proxy internally uses this database class. Okay, so and this proxy is being used by the user. So what happens, this user interacts with this proxy. This proxy internally interacts with this database service, and then this database service is responsible for actually interacting with the database. Okay, now what is the benefit of this architecture? Let's say that this user, okay, is a hacker. He never know that where is the actual code or where is the actual database, because all he knows is that this proxy. So basically a proxy is kind of a substitute or a placeholder for another object. Okay, let's see that in action, and this is really easy. Okay, so if I go to my singleton pattern, in the main we made a singleton pattern, right? So if I go to main, okay, so this was our singleton pattern, and you can clearly see that we were giving the database service direct access to the user in the main. So what we can do is I can basically make a class, okay, and let me zoom in a little bit and name this class as database proxy layer. Okay, this is a proxy layer. Okay, and internally what I can do is basically I can override these methods, okay, in this particular service. So what this particular service will do is it will basically have a private database service instance. Okay, I can say it as db, and in constructor what I will do is I will make a constructor here, and I'll say that this dot db equals to database service dot get instance, correct? And then what I can do, I can make a function void I can say put data. Okay, and you give me some data here, and what I can do is I can say that this dot db dot put data in database, correct? And similarly I can even have a wrapper around the get data. So I can say get data, and if you want to get the data, I'll say this dot db dot get data from the tables. Okay, so this is a proxy class, and in the main what we can do is basically don't give user the direct access to this database service. Okay, instead what you should do is you can say database proxy layer, I can say db layer equals to new database proxy layer, if I can type that correctly. right? And then using this DB layer, I can interact with the database, I can get the data, and I can put the data. So if I say put data, and let's just comment out this thing, 1, and if I run this code now, you can see, sorry, by mistake I run the bridge pattern, so we need to run main.main. So now you can see it opens a connection and puts the data in the DB very well, right? So in the proxy pattern, basically you don't give the direct access to these kind of services which are sensitive. You make a proxy, and this proxy basically substitutes the original instance, and user is only allowed to interact with this proxy, and this proxy internally uses that service to communicate. So that was all about the proxy design pattern, and this was really common. This is really commonly used, and this is really easy to understand. So that's all for this video, and let's meet you in the next video. Until then, bye bye, take care.